Hello and welcome to another Amber Roots devlog. This time there's a ton of visual variety to show off and it was super fun to work on. So let's jump right in. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is that I'm working on a UI overhaul. I'm trying out a skeuomorphic journal UI design again, and I think this time I'm pretty happy with it. The idea will be that most of the UI will take the form of a notebook that belongs to the player. In this notebook, all of the notes and info are stored, and you can cycle through the menus using these bookmark style buttons here at the top of the UI. I tried to make sure that elements inside each page are also thematic, so things like sticky notes or drawn boxes to give the notebook a more authentic feel. The biggest issue I have with this design, in my opinion, is that it divides the screen in two, with a left and right side, which works for some things, but not always. But I think I found a solution to this. When I need to create a page that is more centered and unified, I can have a pop-up style page come up, like a loose paper folded into the notebook, and I'm actually pretty happy with the solution. Also, I've been replacing most of the text buttons with visual buttons, and I personally think they look pretty good. It's true that they might take a little bit longer to figure out exactly what they do, but I think once you get used to them, it's actually easier to quickly glance for the right button you want. And I like the aesthetic they bring to the menus. I could try to add some pop-up help when a button is hovered over too in the future, to help explain its functionality. One last thing to note about the UI is I changed the speed of the tween that occurs when you mouse over buttons and clickables. It's a bit faster and snappier now, and I think it feels a lot more responsive. The UI still needs a ton of work, but overall I'm really happy about the direction this is going in. Let me know your feedback though, I'm always happy to hear that. Alright, next I want to talk about player customization. So last time I showed how I put together a shader to change the colors of sprites based on color region system. For example, skin color would be its own region, hair color another, etc. Go check out that video if you haven't, with the card in the top right here. I'll also have a link in the description. In addition to that though, I added another layer of player customization. Now I have a system where the player will be able to change their clothes, hair, and accessories, and also be able to mix and match different styles. This of course also works with the color shader, so each piece can be colored to make your character be as unique and personalized as possible. Let me give you a quick rundown of how this works. I'm using a technique called Sprite Merging, so each piece of a character is divided into different sprites. For example, the clothes and the hair are two different sets of sprites. I created a class called Sprite Merger, which takes in these sprites and creates a new sprite, combining the inputs into a single output. So, for example, I would input the hair, head, and clothes sprite into the Sprite Merger and get a single sprite out that has all of those recolorable elements. This makes it super easy to add new looks, since if I, for example, add a new hair, I don't have to update the clothes sprite or anything like that. I'm storing the different sprite parts as scriptable objects, and each one has a layer that it belongs to. For example, clothes and hair are two different layers. The Sprite Merger also knows what order to draw the layers in, so there's no risk of a head sprite being drawn over a hair sprite. The kind of unfortunate part about all this was that I did have to create my own animator system for this to work. Unity's Mechanim animator system wasn't working well with the concept of sprite replacement, so I had to come up with a new solution. Because all of the animations that I'm merging are just sprite sheet frame animations though, I easily made a new system that simply takes in an array of sprites and animates them. Another nice thing about my custom animator is that now that it's set up, creating a new animation takes about 5 seconds, since I just copy an existing scriptable object animation and change the source texture. All of the frames and setup are already done, and it's pretty universal for any given entity. So the Sprite Merger can easily send its output to the new system and have it animate no problem. This has led to some super fun art creation, and it even works with more complex styles like full-body costumes for the player. Someone on the Discord server suggested a chicken costume, and at first I thought it would be really tough to make, but actually it was super easy to make it work with the Sprite Merger. I added a blocked layer section too to the scriptable object, so that certain sprite animations can make sure to block others. For example, switching to the chicken head, locks hair and hat layers automatically. This is a really nice flexible system, so I can't wait to expand on it more. I hope you're all excited about creating a personalized character for Amberroots. Now let's talk a bit about Amberlings. So, the color shader that I made in the last video wasn't made entirely for the player. I wanted to experiment with just how flexible it could be for creating color variety among the different Amberlings. And I'm happy to say that it's working really well, but take a look for yourselves. Using Scriptable Objects again, if you can't tell, I love Scriptable Objects, I can define some pre-made colors for each species. For example, Snallies come in different shades of green that are fairly light and bright. The best part is that the different color regions from the color shader are customizable independently. So that means there are a ton of possible combinations. For example, you might find a Snally with the same body color as another, but a different shell color. I think this will add a ton of variety to the Amberlings and make each one more unique. As you can see, as we run around here, each species has a distinct palette, and I hope this will make players really excited to find just the right Amberling for them. You may have also noticed that color isn't the only thing setting these Amberlings apart anymore. I'm also randomly picking their size, so there will be Amberlings that are slightly smaller and slightly bigger than others. So this is yet another layer of variety I'm happy to introduce here. There's more variety to talk about with Amberlings though, because I don't know about you, but I love having more options to personalize my team. And I also love searching for the perfect match. So now there's a small chance that an Amberling will have a rare color. If the Amberling has a rare color, it'll pick from a completely different palette of colors than the usual ones, making it stand out quite a bit. What's more is these rare colors are also region-based. So for example, you might have a Mineralis with a rare color in its body and a regular colored gem on its head, or if you're really lucky, you might find a Mineralis with rare colors on the gem and its body. With rare colors, you can see that the color variety of each species becomes quite a bit bigger. There's also one final bit of Amberling variety to talk about. Just like rare colors, there's another property that an Amberling can have. And I wasn't sure what to call this exactly, so I got a vote from my Discord members, and we've decided on the name Gleam. Gleam is a special effect that you can spot on an Amberling. This is a fun little touch that calls back to Pokemon shiny effects that they do when they enter battle. The Gleam effect itself comes in different forms or colors as well. And this is completely independent from color, rare color, and size variations for an Amberling. It's also worth noting that both the rare colors and the Gleam have independent and fully controllable chances of occurring. So I can adjust how often they happen manually. For this example, I've turned up the chances of Gleam or rare colors occurring by quite a bit so that I could show you the different effects and colors. I hope you like all of these systems that are meant to introduce a lot of visual variety to the Amberlings. Personally, I'm really excited about just how much more variety it adds to each species. One thing to note about these visual varieties is that as of right now, that's all they are. I currently don't have any plans to make any of these visual variety pieces have any sort of effect or impact on stats or abilities. The reasoning being that I want players to be able to search and find their favorite look for an Amberling without worrying about whether or not the kind that they like is optimal when it comes to the gameplay. So if you really love Snally in its plainest form, without the rare colors and without the gleaming effect, you can do that without fear of missing out on a superior stats or anything like that. I really would love to hear your thoughts on this though. Do you agree with that approach, or would you prefer for stat boosts to come more linked with rare varieties? And that about wraps up everything I wanted to show today. A quick reminder that if you haven't dropped by on Discord, there's a link in the description. I'd love to hear more outfit and costume ideas for the player, and I'm pretty vocal about my progress and updates on there, so stop by and say hello. I also love getting people's opinions on there in the form of small polls and things like that. So if you're interested in participating in that kind of stuff, again, drop by Discord. I hope everyone enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more videos about Amberroots, and hit the bell to be notified so you don't miss anything. I really appreciate all of that stuff. And as always, thank you so much for watching.